Hi everyone, welcome back to Ask Amy. Today I have a question from Patty, and it's about sleep, which I know is something that a lot of people struggle with from time to time. So Patty says, "Hi Amy, can you give me advice on how to deal with not being able to fall asleep without tossing and turning for 2 to 3 hours before I fall asleep? I've had trouble on and off with sleep for 30 years. Sometimes it will be a few nights where I struggle, and then other times it'll be weeks that I struggle to fall asleep. I've talked with my doctor, and she has me on bioidentical hormones that have helped for about 3 years, but now I'm struggling again. I'd love some help with this that I've been dealing with for so long." So it's an excellent question. Thank you for sending it, Patty. The first thing I want to kind of point toward or have a sort of open up to and consider here is that our bodies know how to sleep. Our bodies know how to sleep. They know how to eat. They know how to be well. Like there is a natural balance. Our minds are the exact same. So our minds know how to move through grief and anxiety and frustration and whatever's moving through them. Our minds know how to handle that. Our bodies know how to handle things. And there is this natural balance. Now, here's where I think that gets confusing for people, is that we human beings have an idea, or many ideas probably, about how we think things should go. So we have this idea, and sometimes we don't even recognize that we have this as a thought, but it is a thought. It's an idea or an image or our expectation, whatever it is, about what balance and health looks like to us. So again, this is mentally, physically, whatever. We have ideas about how we think we should feel, about where our moods should be, about how much fear or anxiety or sadness or happiness really we're kind of supposed to be feeling. We have ideas of that we don't even recognize are running around in the background. We have ideas about how we think we should be feeling physically, how sleep should go. Now, again, I'm not saying that we consciously make this up and say it has to be this way, because I think we all know, there's a wisdom to our moods and emotions and mind and our physical body that we aren't in charge of, that we can't really control, that we don't really need to control. So it's not necessarily like this conscious thing, but I bet if any of us kind of look, I know I certainly have this, we have this sort of idea that, okay, I'm kind of, the way it's kind of supposed to go if I'm in balance and I'm healthy is that I go to bed. Maybe it takes, let's say you think you should go to bed around 10 o'clock. Maybe it takes 15, 20 minutes to fall into sleep. You probably should stay asleep for most of the night. And then you should wake up naturally around 6 o'clock in the morning feeling wonderful and refreshed. Now, again, that might be way more strict than yours is, way more specific. But notice how we do have these ideas for what healthy, normal sleep looks like. Just like we have these ideas for what healthy, normal moods look or feel like, or how we're supposed to feel in a day. Now, where things get really interesting and open up for us is when we just start to see that those are ideas. They truly are pictures of how we think it's supposed to go. And to notice, and again, we're not doing this on purpose or consciously, but to notice that when life doesn't show up in a way that matches our idea of how we think it's supposed to show up, we don't like that. Our little mind, our ego, whatever you want to call it, doesn't like that. Our body doesn't like that. Our body gets tense because our mind on some level is telling it this is wrong. You should have been asleep sooner. You should have slept longer. You shouldn't feel sad for this long. You shouldn't feel anxious right now. There's nothing going on. Like we have all these thoughts. So all this does, we can't reach in and change all those and erase all of our expectations, but it's super helpful to start to see, oh, that's happening. For every human on earth, that's happening. Our minds create these expectations of how we think things are supposed to go. And anytime we're feeling tight or disappointed or frustrated or scared or feeling as if we're broken. Our body forgot how to sleep. I need a fix. Or my body doesn't know how to handle all this emotion. I need to do something to help it along. Whenever we're in that place, this is what's going on, is we have an idea of how life should show up. And life's like, no, that's your idea, but that's not how I'm showing up. And that creates a tension. And we end up feeling all of this stuff. So, Patty, I'm not at all saying it's not like that. Almost all normal human beings wouldn't also feel a little frustrated or discouraged or whatever, that it takes 2 to 3 hours sometimes of falling asleep. Like, maybe that's just how most people are going to see it. And I'm not at all saying just live with it. Like, if there are things you can do, like you have already, you've gone to a doctor, you've tried hormones, you've tried some different things, wonderful. All I'm saying is see if you can open up to this a little bit and notice how thought and feeling and our physical bodies are all one thing. They're all the exact same thing. They're all connected. So when we're lying there thinking, it's been too long. Well, what's wrong with me? I'm broken. Why am I not sleeping? How am I going to fix this? What's going on? Just imagine what's going on within your body. And this is just your mind going there. And it's not your mind going there on purpose either. Again, I'm not saying you're sitting there ruminating and being, hard on yourself and you're causing this yourself, Patty. Not at all. I just want to peel back the curtain so we can see more and more where this is coming from. So any of us, I do this. We're laying in bed saying, oh my gosh, it's this time. Why is it taking me so long to fall asleep? What's going on? Our body chemistry is affected by that thinking because thought and chemistry are the same thing. Our feelings, our tension level, all affected by that thinking, not even affected by, again, they're one and the same. It's all one system. Our whole form is one big interconnected system. So as we're thinking this is wrong, shouldn't be happening, all kinds of stuff's going on. Body chemistry, tightness, your muscles are tight, our mind's racing, all kinds of stuff that happens to stand in the way of our body relaxing and just falling into sleep, which is the most natural thing in the world for a body to do. Doesn't mean it does it perfectly, like perfectly by our definition, but it is a natural thing for a body to do. So we kind of start to see, oh, okay, that's one version. Again, I'm not telling you, Patty, think differently, feel differently, none of that. Just kind of play this out. That's one version. We're laying there thinking, and look what's happening. Another conceivable version, and you might not know how to do this. There is no how. I'm not telling you how to do this. I'm just saying this is possible, is that we're lying in bed, and it takes 2 to 3 hours to fall asleep, but we couldn't care less. You're just laying there. I don't know. You're relaxing. You're counting sheep. You're thinking about how your day went. You're meditating. You're just hanging out in your cozy bed. Whatever's going on. But if there's a different thinking and different feeling, you're going to have a totally different experience. And that doesn't mean, again, that you fall asleep right away. For whatever reason, maybe your body's just not falling asleep right then and there. But with a different experience of it, with it not mattering so much and not being a problem, I'm broken, there's a problem, I need to fix this and get this under control, your chemistry is different, your muscles are different, your mind is at ease, much closer to falling asleep when that's meant to happen. There's a whole different thing happening. And the only difference between those two extremes is the picture our mind, our thought is painting of reality for us in that moment. That's the only difference. There's no physical differences. There's no biological differences. There's no oh, it's because of this drug and that drug. We can be on any medication in the world, anything in the world, and our thinking will create an experience. And we live into that. So again, just to kind of back off of this for a minute and see this in a new way, what I'm not saying, Patty, is get yourself to relax, because then you'll have an easier time and fall asleep easier and faster. Although I suspect that's probably true, but that's not what I'm saying. So I'm not saying to have a different experience, figure out how to relax and not care and all that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is a huge difference is to see that lying in bed for 2 to 3 hours before you fall asleep is inherently neutral. There's not a thing good, bad, normal, or abnormal about it until our thinking comes in and calls it that. It's inherently neutral. It could be the most pleasant experience of your life. It could be the most torturous experience of your life. It's just an experience. But in each and every moment, it is the experience it is due to how thought is bringing it up for us and bringing it to life within us. And that, people get tricky about this, get kind of weird about this word, and so do I, but I want to just say it. That's kind of arbitrary. It's kind of arbitrary. Thought brings us, we can be in the middle of a horrible fight and feel a feeling of peace. It's kind of arbitrary. Like, thought brings us the experience it brings us. You can be lying in bed 2 or 3 hours, haven't slept again, and be in complete peace and bliss, or you can think there's something horribly wrong with you and be caught up in all of that. It's just down to how thought brings it up for us. That's what we experience. And if we can start to see that more without jumping into, I'm broken, I need to fix it, it opens things in incredible ways. Then you sleep or you don't sleep, but it doesn't look like a problem. And there's just, again, physically, it's a totally different thing. Emotionally, it's a totally different thing. It's a completely different experience, and it's not even one that we would necessarily call a problem. Balance, our body does have a natural balance point, but that doesn't mean it looks like you go to bed at 10, you fall asleep right away, you wake up at 6. It doesn't look like that. Who knows what it looks like? For any of us in any given moment, maybe the best, closest to balance we're going to get is 3 or 4 hours of sleep. But again, even within that, we can have an infinite number of experiences. That can be horrible and painful and like, oh my gosh, there's a problem and I can't function. Or it can be no big deal. You can have the best day of your life on 3 hours of sleep. It's all possible because it's down to what thoughts bring to life within us. And what thoughts bring into life within us just isn't that like true. It's true in our experience, but I mean, it's moving and changing. If it could be this or it could be that, like how dug into that do we want to get, So see if you can stay kind of open and fluid with that, Patty, and see what that opens up for you. And again, everyone listening, this applies to everything. This applies to our moods and our emotions and our habits and urges and cravings and sleep and any other physical pain, any other kind of physical things. It's what we think it to be, not what it is. And what we think it to be isn't a thing that we need to fix or change, because it just kind of does that on its own. We just want to see that, and then we get a little bit more and more unhooked from it. And the more unhooked from things we are, the more our ego is sound asleep, let's say, and we're just kind of unhooked from that, the more naturally our physical body and our mind and everything just kind of do what they do, and we aren't so bothered by it. So I hope this is helpful, Patty, for anyone with sleep issues, because I know there are many of us, of you, or really anything you're up against, it all applies. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for everyone who sent questions. I have an awesome library of questions that I get to go through every Sunday and think about what I want to share here. So keep your questions coming. If you've sent them and I haven't addressed them yet, I will. They're all coming up. Send your questions to AskAmy at thelittleschoolofbigchange.com. And Little School of Big Change opens again on March 11th. So it's coming up. Get on the wait list to learn more. Thanks so much for being here, guys, and I'll see you next week.